Hello and welcome to a new lesson. In our previous lesson, we installed Pritunl on an Ubuntu 22 virtual machine. In this lesson, we will complete the initial setup of Pritunl. Let's start by changing the default username to admin instead of Pritunl. Following best practices, you should choose a username other than admin, as admin is commonly targeted in brute force attacks. However, for our testing and learning purposes, using admin as a username is fine. Next, let's set a new password different from the one auto-generated by Pritunl. For the public IP address, I will keep it as is, since this is the public IP for the Pritunl virtual machine. If you have an IP version 6 address for the virtual machine, you can add it here, but I will leave it blank. I will also leave the web console port as the default 443. Now, I will enter my domain, which I have already pointed to the virtual machine IP. So if you remember, my domain is vpn.linuxdirection.com. Let's encrypt will automate the SSL configuration for vpn.linuxdirection.com. Remember, as mentioned in our previous lesson, you can proceed without a domain. If you don't provide a domain for your VPN console, you will access the console using the public IP. If you want to accept IP version 6 connections, mark the respective option. In my case, I won't accept IP version 6 connections. Now, let's click Save to save our settings. The Pritunl service has been restarted to apply our changes. As you can see, I can access the dashboard using the public IP, but since I configured the domain for Pritunl, let's type vpn.linuxdirection.com. The dashboard login page now requests a username and password. To verify the SSL certificate, let's click here. Then from Connection Secure, as you can see, verified by Let's Encrypt. Let's provide the username, then the password, and click Sign in. Since this is our first login to the dashboard, we will notice that no organizations, users, or servers are available. First, we need to add a server. Let's click Servers, then Add Server. For the name, let's type vpn.linuxdirection.com or any other name you prefer. For the DNS server, I will leave it as 8.8.8.8, which is Google's public DNS. If you have a different DNS server, feel free to provide it here. I will leave the port and protocol as they are. I will also leave the virtual network settings as they are, though you may need to change these after discussing with your network team or based on your use case. Any user connected to this VPN server will be assigned an IP from 192.168.226 IP range. I will enable DNS routing. This feature ensures that DNS requests from users connected to this VPN are resolved via the VPN, adding a layer of security since their ISPs won't know the DNS requests made. This is also helpful for resolving internal domains in your organization, like example.localhost. To manage this, you would need to use your local DNS resolver instead of Google's public DNS server. Let's enable Google Authenticator for an additional layer of security for our users. Now let's click Add to add the server. The server has been added successfully. You can see information about this server, such as its status, which is currently offline, uptime, online users, and connected devices. If you want to change any configurations for the vpn.linuxdirection.com server, click its name, and you can then change any of the configurations. Let me click cancel because I don't want to change any of the configuration we already did. Now let's add an organization. Click users, then add organization. Let's type first org, then click add. As you can see, the organization has been successfully added. Let's go to servers to attach the organization we just created to the server. To do so, let's click attach organization. We have the first org and the server we just created, so I will just click attach. As you can see, successfully attached organization. After attaching the organization to the server, we can start the server. Let's click start server. Here you will see logs about the server, which are very important for troubleshooting. You have options here to manage the server, like restarting or stopping it, or deleting it if needed. The status of the server is now online. With this, we have completed the initial setup for Pritunl, including adding a server and creating and attaching an organization to a server. That's it for this lesson. See you in the next lesson.